This is the podcast, not an interview. This is a conversation. No gimmicks, just reasons. 84 reasons. Come holler at me. What up, everybody? I am being true. This is another episode, another installment of 84 Reasons. No games, no gimmicks, just reasons. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. You know, because when it comes to these podcasts or these conversations, I want to make sure you guys are liking what you're hearing. But whenever I get a chance to sit down with a former teammate, I try to make sure I give them their just dues. Because 23 years. Met this man 23 years ago. Don't even seem like 23 years. I want to get it right. All-American. Played a couple of years in the National Football League. Got the best dad. We're going to get into that. Got the best dad you're going to meet. Played with his brother at the same time. Now, head pitmaster of Sonny's Barbecue, doing all great things. Listen, when it comes to brisket, you go to this next man, my next guest, former teammate, and he got something coming up on Food Network. We'll get in that. The great Shannon Snell. What's going on with you today, Shannon?
True. What's up, man? That is listen, I need a hype. If I need a hype man, somebody needs to call you, because that was, I don't know if anybody could have did it better than that.
I'm gonna make sure. Listen, got a brick, at Florida. Mm-hmm. When it comes to your dad, man, I always, when I think of you, Shannon, I always think of your dad was the team dad. Whether he adopted us, we adopted him. May he rest in peace, man. But he was, when I think of the Snell family, which to me, that's one of the golden families. You know, you got the Jacksons, you got the Snells. But before we even get into the football, man, Shannon, how the hell did we go 4 years of college? You didn't you didn't make no ramen noodles, you didn't make no hot dogs. Then I look up, this man is a pitmaster, man. I mean, obviously I see you guys that your grandfather was. Where did that come from?
See, True, what happened was you had the same schedule I did. You knew we were out there running with Rob Glass and getting beat up every single day. So I didn't have the opportunity. Look, man, it happened a long time ago, like before I went to college. Even when I was in high school, I took some culinary art classes and I did some stuff like that. And it was just a passion, bro. It was a passion. Like, I used to hang out with my grandfather on that big old smoker he had on his barrel in West Tampa. And I had fun, and it kind of progressed, but, and I had a chance to go to Johnson & Wales, which is a culinary art school in Miami, but, football won out. I happen to be pretty good at it, as you and I both know, so I decided to do that. But then after the fact, the passion of cooking still kind of remained. I still wanted to do it. So naturally, as I got into a career, as I wanted to get into a career, that kind of took over.
So let me get this straight. Hold on for a second. Hold on. Mm-hmm. You were gonna go to culinary school, mm-hmm. You, and so had you not been the beast of a guard you would have been doing this. We probably been with you, man. I want that shit. Give me the Shannon Snell brisket special a lot earlier. And the reason why I say it, Shannon, is this: most of the scariest thing about athletes is Plan B. It scares us to death because all we know, sports. So football comes to an end, and it always comes to an end a lot quicker than we wanted to. Even if we walk away, we think it's too early. Did you already know it was gonna be what you're doing now, or did you say, well, at least I can fall back on something I enjoy?
I didn't know. I knew kind of where I wanted to be, Troop. I knew what I wanted to fall into, and just like you say, when your time got through in the league, you might have had a plan because you were able to plan for it. But we all say when we get out and we make it to that point, when we make it to the league, that we're going to have a 15, 16, 17-year career, and you're going to ride off into the sunset, and then you're going to, whatever there's going to be, you're going to retire and do all that. The realistic fact is, and it doesn't happen for all those people. It happens to maybe 1% of those people that play football or that play a professional sport. So for me, it took a little bit of soul searching. It took a little bit of time for me to try to figure out what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do something in the food service industry. It just excited me. It still gave me that sense of team that I was so used to, that I've been doing for like 12 or 13 years. So I said, hey, I want to do this. And, when I first got into this business with Sonny's, I didn't know. I thought it was just like something I was trying out. But as time has gone on, now it's been about 16 years. It's become a passion. It's like when you go to work, like what you're doing now, podcasting, with this 84 Reasons, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like when you go into it, that you're having fun. Like you wake up and you're trying to find innovative ways to make it better. And that's kind of what I'm doing now.
2020 was something that shocked the whole world. I mean, it rocked the whole world, shut the whole world down. Obviously, I knew what you was doing well before then, but when the world shut down, it's almost like you sped up. You said, look, I know that people can't leave their home. People are hungry. Some people don't know where they're going to get food from. Talk about what you was able to do in 2020 when obviously the word 2020, 2021 going around the state. Now you leaving them 352 city limits to go kind of do that Sonny's on wheels.
Yeah, man, I was, 2020, everybody started getting furloughed. People started had to stay home. There's a lot of things that were going on in the world that nobody had any clue. If you cut on the news at any point in time, it was a lot of doom and gloom. And if you cut on social media, a lot of my followers, a lot of people I follow, they were just unsure. Nobody knew of a vaccine. Nobody knew of when this thing was going to end. Nobody knew what it was going to eventually come out to be. So I found it as an opportunity, Troop, that I was sick of seeing it. I really was. I said, instead of being negative and instead of looking at the glass half empty, I said, I want to turn this into somewhat of a positive, not only for myself, but people that I surround myself with, people that I see. And so I didn't know what was going to happen. I was scared. I got to be completely honest with you, man. It's like when I stepped out in faith, and decided to start delivering barbecue and taking it to people in need. I was a little bit nervous because I was around a lot of different people. COVID was out there in the world. I had no clue, but God was kind of telling me, hey, this is kind of your calling. This is something that you need to do. You have a platform, just like we did in athletics. We have platforms to create these memories and these situations for people that they're always going to love and remember. Well, the same thing happens in barbecue. I said, hey, look, I'm going to create memories for some people, and there's going to be people out there in need. There's people that legitimately can't leave their house because they have compromised immune systems and compromised. They might have been furloughed and they're not making money. So I decided to make it a point to show them some love, to really install like the values that my dad installed into me a long time ago. And, I'm a people person. I got sick of not being around people. I love my family, but they just said, and I got their blessing too. They said, go. If you feel a need, obviously we took precautions as a family, but they said, go and do what God's calling you to do. And that's exactly what I did.
Shannon, when you just said it's a calling. We talk about the fact that when the hardest thing about sports is the locker room and the camaraderie. It's not the games, it's the people.
Right.
You meet some of the most interesting people. And I was always told, man, listen, true fulfillment is something you willing to, do for free and get paid for, right? You're a person that you said, I'm a people person. You live in Gainesville. Listen, what you got your name from is right there down the street. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, this NIL thing happened. Right? You were already serving these boys up in training camp. I mean, them guards and them old linemen looking like, oh, you can really cook. Like, hell yeah, you think I'm gonna feed you guys and I don't know how to season this meat? But we in the NIL era. Talk about telling them, not just doing what you was doing for them old linemen, but being able to give them some knowledge while y'all sitting there breaking bread saying, fellas, I'm not here to tell you what you can and can't do. I'm telling you, to be successful in this game, this is what you need on top of the fact that, you're giving them secret sauces.
Yeah, so the reason that we got into that business of doing that and why I was so passionate is, you think about it, Troop, is that it's about building relationships. A lot of times these young men that you talk to, whether it be the offensive lineman, which we built that NIL deal with them, or any of them on the team, they're very void of having a lot of conversation. They're very used to having people praise them and talk about them while they're on the field and whatever they're doing. But it's, eventually the game ends, whether it be sooner than later for some. So for me, it was being able to pass on a lot of our conversations. I didn't care about what they were doing. Of course, I hope they win the previous week or whatever, but that was like very minuscule versus me talking to them about life or me and being able to feed them a good meal. And just like what we're doing right now with the Gator Cookout, we're cooking for them each week on the grill, just showing them life lessons. And that's one thing I will say that Billy Napier and his staff are doing a really good job at, is teaching these guys life lessons. Because Billy knows, the coaching staff knows, is that not all these guys are going to have the opportunity to play 5 or 10 years in the league. They know that there's going to be things that these guys have to do, life skills that they're going to have to do when they get out. And that's what the NIL was built around for me when I was able to communicate with these guys. It was, the food was a minuscule part of my thing, but it was just being able to have conversation, being able to break bread, and to be able to create relationships and show them how easy it is. Because 90% of what they do in this world is about a relationship that they created. All right. The other 10% is the actions that they do afterwards. So I was trying to, and the more that they do that, the easier it becomes. So when that final whistle does go off, it's an easier transition for them.
When did you realize, Shannon, too, that we represent the other side of sports in a way to where they have to see us enjoying life away from it? Because yeah, it's easy to come back when you currently in the league, or you a big time celebrity, and and everybody knows what you do. But when you come in and say, yeah, man, I'm the head pitmaster at Sonny's, I love it. I just happen to go to Florida. I happen to do it in the same city that I, got known for. But when they see you enjoying what you're doing, and the NIL is something you get to say, look, I'm happy that we got a platform that I could use to talk to you guys about the other side of sport. And the reason why I say that is, of course, we're going to smile and do all these things when you're doing what you love, you grew up loving to do. But they see you loving what you're doing. I'm sitting, listen, and I'm speaking directly to the players. Y'all cannot grill. I've seen some of y'all, the cameraman only trying to get this. So listen, when you season it, put it on the grill. Y'all sitting there taking pictures with dead meat. Put it on the grill, flip it, do what Shannon tell you to do. But that's another for another day. Just being able to show them, Shannon, man, you can enjoy your life when sport is over. Because and that really what really has to come from us. Because if it's somebody outside of us, they're gonna be like, yeah, well, they don't do what I do. I'm telling you, the quicker you can find something you love to look forward to after sport, it kind of makes sport less of your identity, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's that period that because a lot of us have been playing football or had played football since Pop Warner, right? Some of us started in freshmen in high school, but needless to say, by the time that you're a senior in college, you have played 8 or 9 years continuously, right? And you've been treated one certain way, and that's all you can know, and that's all you've been around, and that's the difficult part. Because whether it's you play a couple years in the league or many years in the league, there's going to be a period, like a 1 or 2 year period, that you don't know what to do with yourself. You don't know how to act. You don't know how to really enjoy life when something's kind of taken away from you. And a lot of times the game ends quicker than a lot of us think it's going to end. That's the period that I want a lot of these young men to realize, even young women, even in different sports. I want them to realize is that, and this is why it's so important for guys like you and guys like me and people, we talk Max Starks. Max is doing stuff on TV and doing stuff like that to show that there's another side other than running into 300-pound guys, to show that, even though the spotlight is not on you, you can build your life into a point where you can enjoy it and you can enjoy what you do and you can make a successful living behind it. And I think that's so important because as many years as they play football, they still have many, many more years to enjoy of their life and to make something out of it. And I think that's so important that it starts at the point when they get into college, as they're doing now, teaching a lot of these life lesson courses and life lesson classes, to when they leave, right? It's a 4-year experience that they all need to understand. That's really important, and it really plays into them as they become younger men into older adults.
We're gonna be what the old saying, you're gonna be a former player much longer, you're gonna be a current player. We don't know when that former player begins. But you said something. Billy Napier, right? Comes over from Louisiana, didn't come from a P5 to a P5, so he get the whole Sun Belt Billy thing. And obviously it took us 2-3 years to even adapt to what Florida is. And that's not, I don't even know what the head coach got to go through, but most coaches talk about bringing in former players, but he said, the former players are Florida. It ain't me, it's them. Talk about the relationship you've been able to build with him, because I don't know what phase they in now. Them boys got more phases than a toddler. They're going through a phase right now. But talk about him just welcoming you, Shannon, because you know how it is. We hear that. As former players, we hear it, but we have to see it. He seems to be putting it in action.
So really weird, True. Here's the story is that when he came in, he had a well-conceived plan. I didn't know what it was. All I heard was what he said in the pressers. And I got a call from somebody down at the university and don't know how they got my number. Have no clue how they got my number, but on the phone they referenced, they were like, "Oh yeah, Coach Napier gave me your number." And I hadn't even met him yet, which was the most incredible part. And from what I understand now is that one thing that he did when he first came in is he got the number of all former players and he reached out, or somebody reached out in a capacity to them to try to reconnect them with the program. So many years in the past, and I've seen a lot of coaches come through Florida here over the last decade. A lot of the coaches were very protected. They protected the program. A lot of the former players didn't come back around. And I was one to believe that, the only people that could talk intelligently about the Florida Gator program is the former players. I mean, those are the guys that lived it. Those are the guys that had that blood, sweat, and tears that laid out on that practice field in the swamp out there. So for him, I think he's a really smart guy. First of all, I think that's a lot of our coaches in the past were smart X's and O's wise, but he is very cerebral to the point that he realizes that he has to be able to use all his resources to get Florida back to a place that Florida was. We're talking a decade and a half ago. But the last time that Florida was relevant in a larger scale was back in 2009. The Troop, and that's almost we're coming up on 15 years. So I think he realizes that all the banter and a lot of stuff that's happened here over the course of 15 years, he's tried to absorb it and he's trying to rebuild it, right? He's trying to rebuild the fact that, we got a new indoor practice facility. We got Hebner Hall, which is absolutely phenomenal, the new locker rooms and stuff. So I think with all that encompassed and all that stuff that he can talk about, he still realizes that the former players are what a lot of these younger guys need to see. Because if you go to an Alabama, if you go to a Clemson, if you visit a Georgia, if you go to Texas, LSU, A&M, wherever you go, a lot of these guys are coming back around the program, showing these guys love. And I think that's exactly what Florida needs. I think that was something that was missing for a long, long time. And it takes the right guy, it takes the right leader in charge to realize that and to expound on that. I think that's what Billy Napier is. I think he's a people person, but he's just a really smart, cerebral individual that's been able to connect all the dots and to line all the stars. And maybe not personally, he's been able to put people in places that have been able to do that. We saw Vernell Brown that he kept around for that very reason. And Vernell was able to branch out into Anthony Richardson's manager now and do some other stuff. So, but he's been able to just really reform this program to getting it to a place where it's gonna, instead of building it off of shifting sand, but building it on really solid concrete ground.
You talk about the coaches that you've seen the last 10 years, the facilities. You talked about, the indoor facility. You talking about now the boys don't got to walk upstairs to go across the street to the practice fields. But how much has just football facilities changed? Forget the last 10 years, the last couple of years. It's like the old dome seems like it's almost to the street now. Is that the new wave you think of? Recruiting aside, I get, Coach Billy gonna be in a different whip every time a recruit come in, but do you think the new, selling point is these facilities?
They have to be. I think the facilities are is secondary now because you're expected to have good facilities. The facilities that if you haven't upgraded your facilities since 1990, 2000, then that's a problem. A lot of these guys, you're talking about being able to compete against not only the NIL era. That's a small portion. You can give a guy, $1 million, but if your facilities are 10 cents, then you ain't getting that guy. A lot of these guys that you're competing against or you're competing for, think about it like for Florida. We're competing against Georgia. We're competing against, let's just to say the SEC, because now we have Oklahoma and Texas joining. Like we're competing against some really tough teams in different regions of the United States that have a lot of that have facilities that are really, really nice. And you hear legends of them, whether it be Clemson's campus that has miniature golf courses, or Alabama's campus that has like a game room that can rival Dave & Buster's, right? So we have to be able to compete on that end, because think about it now. The facilities are so important because you want guys to stay on campus. I remember when you and I were on campus, a lot of times we left campus was because we didn't have a lot to do. You know, you went down there to work out, you went in there to change and do all your stuff in the locker room. But then after that, there was nothing else. There was nothing else for us to do but go downtown and get into trouble or do something else that we probably shouldn't have been doing. So for these facilities, I think it is an avenue for these guys, the indoor practice stuff, to be, when you come to a school, it's like, hey, I can envision myself sitting in this locker room. I can envision myself being in an air-conditioned indoor practice facility. It's going to preserve my body. It's going to make me practice harder. It's going to make me, it's going to create more visibility, not only for myself, but it's going to create more visibility and attract better players for me to help win championships. So I think it does all play into one big bubble, and I think it's a great thing that Florida actually did that and moved forward with it.
Coach Saber's offense last year, obviously, when you have a guy like Anthony Richardson, you're going to call certain plays for him because he's just a freak of nature. But the one thing that he made a point was the run game. In 1 year, I mean, top 5, top 10 in the run game, you bringing that back. And the offensive line, to me, the best teams have the best offensive line. They got the best guys in the trenches, and that's going to go back to even 2009 when we was winning it. You see this offensive line, it's going to be reshaped a little bit. You don't replace guys like Torrance. You just don't. I mean, when you talk about what he brought, physicality is one thing, mentality is everything. When you see this offensive line, Shannon, what makes you know that one, even if you can't replace Torrance, they can go out there and have another effort as far as like running the football to kind of let that passing game catch up a little bit.
The best thing he did is you could tell what he wanted. Like if you take a look at the offensive line last year, he inherited some pretty big guys, some big guys that had to learn how to kind of get into the mode of running the ball. It's kind of a mentality because the previous couple years you had Kyle Trask, who threw the ball for umpteenth amount of yards, right? And you're back there pass setting. Well, now the idea is to run the ball to set up the pass, set up some play action, set up the things that Billy Napier really likes to do. One thing you could see that he did in the offseason, if you haven't really taken notice, and whether that's in the portal, whether that was in the recruiting classes, he went out and he got big guys. He went out and listen, all right, I'm standing at this grill out. I didn't realize how big they were until I actually was able to stand next to him. Guys like Austin Barber standing at like 6'8", and 6'8" is like the median. I mean, these guys are towers. I'm 6'5", and I'm looking up at these guys. And so he went out and got some really – he got some monsters and got monsters in depth, right? Last year he had 5 or 6 guys that could play offensive line. But there was a big change. There was some switchover. He was able to get into the portal and go out and get guys that are 6'8", 6'7", 6'8", 350, 360 pounds, 340 pounds. And this is what is going to happen is that a lot of times, if you saw it last season, you saw it early last season, when you're able to lean on guys in the run game, it slows them down in the pass game. It slows them down from rushing. And I think that's what's going to happen. You don't have Anthony back there to be able to run around, right? You got Graham Mertz, who has a pretty good arm, and he's probably going to be pretty good in play action. And that's exactly the offense that he wants to run. He wants to be able to let Etienne and Trell run around back there, have those guys pick their holes, and have the offensive line really assert their dominance. And last year, you saw that a lot. The offensive line was able to assert dominance. We're talking about the Alabama game. We talked about a lot of games that these guys were able to really beat up the guys up front. The Utah game, they asserted their will. They did what they wanted to do. So that's the game plan, is to be a physical football team and to sprinkle in that play action pass. If you got to get in the drop back, that's great. Do we want to be down 14, 21 points? Absolutely not. But if the offensive line is controlling the game, controlling the line of scrimmage, I don't think we have to worry about that. Every game is going to be close, and every game is going to be dictated by what they do.
How much better for you as an offensive lineman when you hit a run game? It's more like it's 60-40, it's 70-30. It's not taken away from the offensive weapons you have in the in the receiving game, but D linemen don't like getting pushed back. D linemen don't like the fact that they can't get off the field on 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, because I always say that there are 6 people who don't come off the field. That's the O-line and the quarterback. They don't come off. What does that do for your mindset? And what does that say about an OC when he's saying, look, man, I'm going to put it in y'all hands and I'm going to trust y'all 5 to get us there?
Yeah, that's great. There's always a chance, right? Whenever you put the ball in the air, that it could be picked off. It could be, the wind could take it a random way or whatever. It's much safer to keep it on the ground. If you have an offensive line, like think about the most successful teams here over the last 5, 6, 7 years. It's been Alabama. It's been Georgia. And what was their recipe for success? Is running the football. And the recipe is having big linemen that can run the ball. When Georgia struggled last year, and everybody saw when Georgia struggled, Stetson Bennett didn't have to be great. Stetson Bennett didn't have to be a Heisman contender, even though he made it to the ceremony and he shouldn't have been there. He didn't have to be that, right? But at the end of the day, they had big guys up front that nobody could, like, they could smash. They could beat everybody up front in the SEC. And Kirby Smart was so smart by getting big guys up front. Nick Saban, that's been his recipe for the last 10, 15 years. Even when back to LSU, when we played them, he had big guys up front that would block well, and he would run the ball, and he would throw it only a couple of times. He had guys back there like Matt Malk that would throw play action pass and were very successful because he lessened his chances of having the ball intercepted. He took away that error, that room of error that you could have when you put the ball in the air. I think Billy Napier, he's cut from Nick Saban. He's cut from the same cloth. He knows the game plan. I think once that offensive line has a game or two to gel, obviously they go to Utah, so it's going to be tested right out of the gate. But once they have a game or two to actually get it down and get it right, it's going to be a little bit of a problem. You're going to see Florida probably better than they were last year because you're going to have a lot of guys. You have a lot of depth. Last year we were praying guys didn't get hurt. Now we have 8 guys, 9 guys that you can insert in there and they can lean on you, and that gets really tiring for the defense.
The voice you listen to right now is Shannon Snell, football royalty at the University of Florida, All-American, got the brig there, played a couple years in the league, represent the state of Florida high school football, which I'm always going back and forth. It's Florida, a little bit over Georgia. I got to hand it to them, that Florida, but it's also 20 million people in Florida, 10 million. That's another conversation.
Oh, that's confused. Okay, all right.
That's another conversation for another day. But part of that world-renowned 2000 recruiting class, y'all might want to go check that. When y'all talking about recruiting rankings, been doing it for a long time. But now, head pitmaster, son is barbecue, and I read some on Twitter. Prior to announcement, I'm going to be featured on the Food Network Barbecue USA Season 2. Shannon, it's hard enough to get recognized for anything we do, anything. Mm-hmm. The hardest thing to get recognized is just with our kids. If they ain't getting iPhones, you're nothing. Yeah, they want the brand new one too. But you being featured on Food Network. What is that call like? You get, because obviously you out here doing what you're doing, not trying to, listen, man, I'm not trying to be seen, you just can see me. What is that call like to say, hey, man, not only do we love what you're doing, we want to feature you on Barbecue USA Food Network? So
the call was weird. It actually wasn't a call. It actually happened on Instagram. My wife, myself, and my kids, we're going to New York. We were going to New York. This was December of 2022. We're going to New York, and I'm like, enjoying my vacation, our yearly vacation that we take every year. And I knew Barbecue USA. I actually saw season 1, and I'm a big Michael Simon fan who does a lot of stuff with the Food Network. And I saw they were coming to Florida. I was like, man, I wonder where they're going. Like, I'm genuinely curious where they're going because, maybe go check them out or do something. So we found out that they were going to be at a barbecue competition. I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to be competing there anyway. So, when I come back, I'll end up like going, maybe checking it out and seeing what it's all about. So literally the day before, it was the night before that we left for New York, right? We flew out of Jacksonville. So I'm like, anyway, I don't generally check my Instagram DMs except for I check them every couple of days, but I just happened to just be scrolling through because I was sitting in the airport, and I get a DM from a producer. And normally you look at this and you're like, man, this ain't real. This is a spam. They want me to click on this. I'm gonna end up getting a virus in my daggone Instagram. Like, I was like, this ain't real. But it seemed, I clicked on the picture first, and it was actually a producer for the Food Network. It was a recruiter. I'm like, so they were asking something. I did something 2 years ago, and this was right after COVID. I went up to right outside of St. Augustine and did a class for a high school, a competition class for a high school. And I guess they were looking for something, but I was tagged in a lot of other stuff. So then they went to my page and they started checking out my Twitter, and they noticed a lot of the stuff I was doing, even going back to, they saw I play for Florida. They saw, the stuff that I was doing, the stuff during COVID season and all that stuff. So they said, hey, we'd love to interview you. We're going to be doing a show in Florida called Barbecue USA. It was kind of weird. It literally happened I saw the Barbecue USA, and then the very next day they call. I'm like, somebody has to be like pranking me. So I check it. I was like, okay, yeah, okay, let's have this phone call. I'm thinking it's nothing. So the further we got along in the process, they were like, hey, do you compete? Which I do. I compete in the Florida Barbecue Association. We do barbecue competition. I said, yes, I am. They said, well, we love to feature you on Barbecue USA. Is that something that you'd be interested in? I'm like, absolutely, yeah. I was like, I didn't tell them I was fanboying over the fact that I'm a Michael Simon fan and all this other stuff. I'm like, yeah, what the hell you guys think? So I said, yeah. I said, I'm actually headed to New York on a family vacation. They were like, hey, funny news is that our offices are in New York. And I'm like, what? So I'm like, they were like, if you want to meet up, we can do that. And I said, no, let's not do that because I don't know if my wife's going to be really feeling that one. So we'll talk when we get back. But needless to say, the process was really swift. They interviewed me and my partner that do the barbecue competition, and they were like, look, we want to put you on the show. We think you would be great. We think it would be great for TV. And, from what we understand and from everybody we talk to, you do a lot of stuff in the barbecue community, and I think it would be good for us. It'd be a great, not only human interest piece, but it would be just a great piece altogether. So one thing led to another, and we just got the call last week to say we could start talking about it. So it was pretty exciting, brother. It's one of the coolest things I've done. I've been on TV numerous times I've actually been on HLN, I've been on CBS and all that other stuff. But this is kind of like the height of where, I've been doing barbecue for 6 years. This is like us making it to college and finally playing our first game, right? And actually making it to the stage. That's kind of where I am now with this. This is truly exciting.
Food Network is the creme de la creme, right? Like that's Food Network is the only network to where even people that ain't food connoisseurs will sit there and look at, Guy Fieri and, the cast just doing what they're doing. Now you a part of that. When you said what you said about, these jokers pranking me, that's what people don't understand. When you've been an athlete your whole life, even if you moved on, you be like, dude, y'all ain't gonna get me. Y'all, y'all are not finna DM me. Y'all in New York. Oh, you wanna. But then at a certain point, you realize, wait a minute, bro, this is real? Yeah, like y'all really, it's a humbling thing because we don't do it for the accolades. We don't do it for the recognition. You just end up getting those things. What was the conversation like with your wife when you told her, listen, I'm not gonna mess up the vacay, but they here in New York. I know we're not going, but they said the offices are like, on 45th Street or something.
And that was the conversation. I was like, I was kind of talking it through with her. I'm like, I don't know if this is real. Like, I don't want to be one of them dudes that gets catfished for some reason or just something weird happens. And I said, but this is like a real opportunity. So we kind of said we were able to talk through it on our trip to New York on the plane and stuff. And it was like, well, yeah, so it was literally true. I was like, the timing of it was so weird because of the fact that I was literally just talking about literally one day after. It's like they heard me through my computer as I was looking at it, and they just called me, and it was like, man, this just, and that was probably God's work, His way of saying, hey, I'm going to throw you a bone because with all the hard work that you've been doing with barbecue the last 10, 15 years. But like I said, it was just truly exciting. It was almost surreal, right? It's almost surreal because you're right. The Food Network is one of those things that whether you barbecue fan, whether you're a fan of Mediterranean food or whatever, they do everything on that network. And you may not even be a food fan, but you may like kind of tune in to find something on there that you actually may like. And this, for them to give me this opportunity, man, it was really a blessing.
Shannon, you've really done it all, man. Listen, parade All-American, high school All-American. All-American in college, got a chance to live out your NFL dreams. You get to literally live in. You can get to go back to West Tampa when you were sitting there in the back with your grandfather. Now, your grandfather's wildest dreams is a Food Network. He was like, nope, don't come to my house. But the grandson get to do it. What is Shannon Snell most proud of, even though you got a lot of life to live? Yeah.
What am I most proud of? I don't think it's. I had fun playing football. I'm sure like you did. I had fun playing football. I have fun, doing the barbecue thing. I have fun on the Food Network. All that stuff is super, super rewarding. But I think it really is the ability to give back to people, and I really do mean that. I don't think I took full advantage of the stage I was on when I was playing football. I wish I did. I admire guys like Tim Tebow because everybody sometimes gives Tim a bad rap because he may not have been as successful as a quarterback in the league as he probably should have been. But I think that's really minuscule versus what he's doing now. He took that platform, he took what he did athletically and was able to turn that into a way to get people to come to Christ, which I think is super awesome. For me personally, I said in my second career, which is obviously barbecue, I said, you know what, giving back is going to be a huge part of what I do. It's going to be a huge part of who I am. And it really hasn't stopped. There's something rewarding about the fact that you're able to connect with people. And the best way to obviously do it is over food. We talk about barbecue and throwing one of our missions is to throw on a barbecue slider in Southern hospitality, right? When you're throwing a barbecue, you're having fun. And I never realized that, even my first couple of years in the barbecue realm, I never realized that, but I realized how much fun I had giving back and connecting with people and, using a platform just to be able to basically break bread with them. I think that means so much, and it means so much whether you could be a Florida State Seminole, you could be a Miami Hurricane. I don't think that means a whole lot because we're only given so much time while we're here on earth, and we've got to make the best of it. You got to leave some sort of a legacy. And, the one I hope I leave for my kids, for the people that know me, I hope it's a good one that they can be kind of respect and be proud of.
High school All-American, college football All-American, played in the NFL, featured on season 2 Food Network, Barbecue USA, a man of the people. But listen, a part of the most historic recruiting class ever to come through the University of Florida. I don't care what nobody say, the class of 2G. I will put our class up against anybody, but more importantly, he represents the second best high school football state in the country, right behind Georgia, that being Florida.
I knew you were going to try to throw that in. I knew that was going to come back up.
But all jokes aside, Shannon, man, I'm super duper proud of you, man. I think what happens is sometimes we don't know what sent us until you put in that right environment. You put in that right environment, you like, dude, this is where I'm supposed to be. Like, this is what I do. And man, you know how many people can't wait to see you pull up? Because they know they finna get some good eats. You can't even pull up. You can't even pull up to the gas, bro. I'm just here to get some gas. I'm not finna go serve the gas station some brisket, but at the same time, man.
It's weird, brother, as I get older, people recognize me less as the football side of me and say, hey, you the barbecue guy. Hey, what you got with you? So it's kind of like a reputation I got now. So it's not one I take lightly. It's one that I got to live up to. I can't serve any BS on any given day. So I do appreciate the newfound success I've created being the barbecue guy.
Hey, listen, man, at the end of the day, man, being recognized for who you are now lets you know you've made the full transition away from the game of football, because being recognized at all. But like I said, man, being a barbecue guy, that just means that if the police do pull you over, look, bro, what I got to do, got to I got to give you some signs with this brisket or whatever. Like, I got some in the back. So I'm in a hurry. He like, listen, man, you give me some greens and some mac with them brisket, I'll let you out of here, bro.
I haven't used that one yet. I don't know if that's counted as a bribe, but I might have to. I drive real fast. So.
The great Shannon Snell, ladies and gentlemen. This is 84 Reasons. I'm being true. No games, no gimmicks, just reasons. Not my reasons, his reasons. Make sure if you're watching the Food Network, be on the lookout for Barbecue USA Season 2. Shannon Snell will be featured on it. I will be taking credit for what, because I can't cook nothing. I can observe. Ooh, that look good right there. I'm a taste tester. That's what I'm gonna do. He's the food guy. I'm the taste tester. Watch me licking my fingers. I don't need no napkins. These are my napkins right here. Here's 84 Reasons. He's Shannon. I'm being, and we out here.